Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So today we are joined by Dr. Saenz, who is a professional psychologist and mental skills consultant. He works in Davis at UC Davis, and we are so excited for him to be here. So thank you so much, Shane. Shane does have a presentation that will show up on your screen that he will be using. And if you do have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. And he will answer them as he goes. So with that, Shane, thank you so much for being here, and take it away.
Thank you all for having me. I'm really excited to be with you today. So yes, please feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat box. And if I'm sharing my screen and if that function is disabled, please feel free to just stop me. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. So with that being said, let's jump in. So I also, when I'm sharing my screen, I can't see everyone like I normally can in the gallery view. So if you do have any questions, like I said, please go ahead and unmute yourself and just go ahead and ask me a question. So the topic of today's discussion is finding normalcy in an abnormal time. And before we jump in, I think it's always important to review what the letters behind someone's name means, as well as to just kind of explain some of the terminology. So I am bound by an ethical code, not only the state, but APA as a whole. And so the term professional psychologist is someone who has a doctoral degree in clinical or counseling psychology. And so why that's an important distinction is I'm not yet licensed, and I'm in the process of getting my license this summer. And I'll explain a little bit more about how that's been slightly delayed thanks to the coronavirus. And CMPC, that is a certification through the Association for Applied Sports Psychology. So essentially speaking, that having at least a master's degree, specific training, experience, and mentorship in consulting with athletes and different performers, whether that's actors, musicians, military personnel, on how to use mental skills to improve performance. And so I think it's always important to set some ground rules for whenever I give a talk. So one point I really want to hit home is please do not feel obligated to share if you don't feel comfortable. And with that being said, if you do feel comfortable sharing, I encourage it. I think the more opportunity to have discussion and discourse allows us to feel a lot more connected and allows the opportunity for sharing ideas that can be applied to everyone. And my request for everyone, there's three things that I want to hit on. The first is the one lesson principle. So one thing that I hold very closely to me is actually a value that got me through grad school, is to take one lesson away from today's lecture. So not every point that we talk about today is going to be specifically meaningful for you. But if you take at least one important lesson for yourself, it's going to be something that's going to carry with you, and you will be more likely to use it moving forward after today. The second thing is that I'm a big believer in using humor to deliver messages. What I want to just say is I want to hold that I recognize how serious this is and how this is affecting people far and wide across the world. And at the same time, I think that humor is a nice way to just kind of alleviate some of that stress and that anxiety. And so really encouraging you that if you do find some laughter throughout today, like, run with it. And then the last point is patience times 3. So there's 3 things that we really need to be patient with as we are all in this together. The first piece is being patient with the situation as a whole. With every day, there is more and more information coming out that is conflicting with other things that were said the day before, 2 days before. And so every day it is changing. And so needing to be patient with the situation. With that being said, needing to be patient with other people, because we are all experiencing this together, but we're not all having the same experiences through this. And most importantly, patience with yourself. So really harping this idea that however you thought you were going to respond to it, and if you're not responding in a certain way, really allowing yourself to feel how you're feeling and know that it is okay. So those are my requests for you. And I'm really excited to be with you all today. So as we get going, I was really struck by the common themes between sport and performance and live events. So I jotted down the first three things that came to my mind of overlapping themes. And this is an opportunity. I don't think that we have access to the chat function. So go ahead, and if you feel like you want to add some other themes, but what do you feel like sports and performance has to do with live events? So I wrote down preparation and planning, communication, and the idea of the home court advantage. Because I know that people who plan live events know their spaces like the back of their hands. So go ahead and shout it out. I'd love to hear how you feel like these themes overlap.
Teamwork.
Teamwork, great one. How about for others? What do you feel is like the most important piece to executing a live event?
Trust, and like, which is kind of built on, you know, teamwork and communication. But right now it's hard to, like, you know, kind of trust anything that you hear. And so that's something, you know, that we have to rely on both during planning live events, but also now with our colleagues and clients.
Absolutely. Well said. I think information. Awesome. So it does seem like the chat function is working. So if you want to just add more to the chat, go ahead and take that time now. All right. Yeah, so these are similar themes, and I want you to keep these in mind, or any that you feel like you came up with by yourself. And just hold on to that, because we'll come back to that as we continue our discussion today. So I've always been told and taught in my work that when there's an elephant in the room, name it. And so unfortunately, this elephant is everywhere right now. And it is the only thing that we see, hear, often discuss. And a lot of these images, and this is just a quick Google image search, are what is going on in the world. This is our new normal. So the idea of going to the grocery store and wearing a mask seems kind of foreign. Like, we've never really had to do that. The term flattening the curve is now said every other sentence, right? Like, it's not about stopping this, it's about flattening the curve, right? And really recognizing all of the essential employees that are on the front lines of this as well. And so the next several slides are just some funny memes that stand out to me of how this is affecting us, right? There's been discussion about how this may be the death of the handshake, and how we're going to have to come up with new ways in which we greet one another. I'm a dog owner and a dog person, and so as someone who has oh yes, the elbow bump, you know, putting a cone on your dog's head, but the idea of like, oh, I didn't realize how much I was touching my face, how often that comes up, how much this sort of feels like this escalated within, you know, how it escalated all within this like 3 to 5 day period, and now it's 6 weeks later, and how quick this has just turned around. What sort of feels like we're not doing much is also sort of like what we're called to be doing right now. So even though it feels like we may just be doing our own thing in quarantine, there's this joint mission that we're all in on together. And you know, as a sports lover, the idea that the Olympics aren't happening this summer, as an avid sports fan all around, the idea that there are no sports in the world, it sort of feels like when if sports really stopped, like everything has stopped. And so all of these things that we're talking about today, it can sort of feel like we're the person in this image, right? That all of this stuff has been going on in the world and there's no escape from it, and we're just kind of waiting for it to hit us. And when we're in a situation like that, a lot of feelings can come up for us: anxiety, fear, worry, just to name a few, can really leave us feeling helpless. And right now, this is what kind of everyone is longing for: just some sense of calmness and a desire to just go back to normal, whatever normal looked like for people before this. And so when we talk about longing for normal in calm seas, it's not wrong, right? This is what we all want. This is what we could really benefit from right now when we're all kind of up here and we're really, really overwhelmed and scared. And unfortunately, this is often what it feels like, though, is that we're in this storm. And one of my go-to phrases when in a storm, choppy waters are not uncommon, but we've never seen it to this level, this magnitude. And so really what I want to leave you all with is we are still prepared for this. We have dealt with big situations in our lives. We've dealt with things that we never thought were possible. And somehow through the end of it, we looked back and went, oh yeah, like I was capable of handling that. And I didn't realize my strength. Can everyone see this quote? So often when I work with athletes and performers, what I always want, perfect. What I always want them to know is sometimes those big events in their lives, championships, the really big events that you've been preparing for years and years. Oh, is anybody else having difficulty with the audio?
I'm not.
Okay. Perfect. If it keeps going on, let me know if there's anything I can do on my end. So when we talk about handling large events though, right, what I often will say to athletes and performers is fall back to your basics, right? Usually there's this big pressure that we put on the large events, championships, right? Like the things that we really care about. And when it comes to the choppy waters, it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be scared. What can be really hurtful though, when we talk about, when we talk about going through the storm, if you're wanting the calm waters and are presented with the storm, of course you're going to be disappointed. It's just a setup for failure. And so thinking about, okay, although I don't want to be in this situation, how am I best prepared and ready and willing and able to attend to what's in front of me? And so this is essentially what we're being tasked with in terms of attending to the storm. We're being asked to stay home, shelter in place, defend ourselves, right? Again, all of these things that are the new normal: washing our hands, 20 seconds, warm water, soap, wiping off all of our groceries, and social distancing. And so when I talk about finding normalcy in an abnormal time, we're not talking about reinventing the wheel here, but making little tweaks. So an example of this, I'm going to talk about social distancing. One thing that experts are talking about is just a simple change in the phrasing, going from using the word social distancing to physical distancing. And the reason they've encouraged this is that when people keep hearing the term social distancing over and over and over and over again, it's leaving people feeling socially isolated. And that's, of course, what we want to avoid. We don't want anyone at this time to feel like they're alone in this. Who would, right? It's a rhetorical question, but who would want to feel alone in that storm, right? And so when we talk about physical distancing, we want to remind people that a little tweak like that to say physical distancing while still remaining socially connected, that we're still in this together. So I was sent this image that I've really taken to, and so I just want to walk through this. So this is a question that's going to be the basis for our exercise in a little while. But who do I want to be during COVID-19? So there's 3 different zones that people have started to look at. The idea that acting out of the fear zone. So the idea that every activity that every action that you're taking is being motivated by this sense of fear. So hoarding toilet paper, preparing for the worst, all that is being done is out of the sense of fear and the worst possible scenario. And so the idea that really wanting to attend to as far right as possible. So going through the learning zone. Okay, trying to understand your feelings. What's coming up for you? Okay, why do I feel like it's okay to hoard 37 years worth of toilet paper at this time? Right? In one sense, it may make us feel better, right? Okay, I have enough toilet paper to last me through this pandemic, but it's not stopping my fears. I'm still afraid. So what am I afraid of? And then when we think about the growth zone, this is taking action that's driven by your values. And so one question and we'll get to this point during the exercise, but what is most important to you? Okay, I'm really big on helping others. So I have enough toilet paper, but I know my neighbor is one of the falls in the groups that is not really allowed to be in the store right now. Let me take some toilet paper over to them, so then I know that they're also taken care of, right? So really thinking, what is driving your actions right now, and starting to recognize like what can be different and how can it be more aligned with what's most important to you. So at every point in my lectures, I always know that I'm talking too much, and it's a time to stop and bring in other people. So this is a good opportunity to do a self-check-in. If you have a piece of paper and a pen, this would be really helpful to write this down. But essentially, it's going to be 2 parts. How is this affecting me? And how do I want to respond? So I wrote out some different aspects. How is this affecting me emotionally, physically, spiritually, socially, other important identities to you? And the 2 parts that I want to encourage you to reflect on is how is this affecting me personally, and how is this affecting me professionally? And I'll share with you how this is affecting me in the different areas. So I mentioned to you, I am not yet licensed. So this is how this is affecting me professionally. I'm at the end of my training. I'm trying to get licensed so I can get more work. Okay, so this is really creating some anxiety in me that I'm trying to get licensed right now. And all right, I don't know what this timeline looks like. On a personal side, it's affecting me. I'm supposed to be married in September, and I don't know how this is going to play out in the next couple of months. So it's affecting me emotionally. Like we've been planning this for quite a long time. We've had people have their flights. We have this room block. Do we have what does this mean? And so recognizing how is this affecting me, and maybe how the 2 overlap, and then we don't have any control how we feel, but we always have a choice on how we respond, right? When we think about that growth zone, how do you want to respond in action, with an action that is more aligned with your values? So I'm going to set a timer on my phone, take a few minutes, and then when people are back, send a comment. Let me know when you're ready to come back. how many people maybe need 30 seconds or an extra minute? Perfect. All right. So whoever wants to share.
So this is Madeline. I think that one thing that a lot of event professionals right now are feeling is that being in the live events profession, we aren't, this isn't just our job, it's part of our identity. For small business owners, I see several on this call right now, it is truly their identity, their ability to function in life. And so I think that, you know, that causes me a lot of emotional anxiety on a professional level, because I am thinking about myself, and then also everybody else that I know and love. All of my, you know, most of my friends are in this industry, and I think about that. Sorry for the wind, you guys. And what I'm doing to try to respond to that professionally is be kind of move away from like a scarcity mindset and try to move into a more supportive mindset and less competitive, because this is really competitive. And yes, we're all friends, but yes, we all are, you know, striving for business and need that. And so I'm personally trying to move away from any type of competitive mindset and just more like, how can we support each other to make our industry progress together.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Madeline.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I guess I'll just tag along with that. Hi, I'm Chloe.
Hi, Chloe.
I'm a floral designer here in the Napa Valley. And for me, that, like she was saying, that's a big part of my identity, is that I consider myself an artist and this is my medium, and not being able to practice it. And luckily I have another family business that we're involved in that supports me financially. But when I see my other friends that are in the similar situation and knowing that they've lost their entire income and they you know, and have no idea when they'll be able to produce that income again, it's very emotional to not want to just help people, but it's also frustrating because there's not a lot that you can physically help change. So
yeah, absolutely.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I work for a caterer in Sonoma. One of the things that I'm finding is that the personal and professional are just like blending over into each other. We really have to be therapists to our clients who are struggling with their disappointment and loss, and we're having to take care of everybody else. So it's kind of hard to take care of yourself also, and to think about how to manage your own stress about this when you're trying to manage your client's stress.
Yes, absolutely.
This is Betty. I am having, in the beginning, I felt that I was okay. I think right now, when we're 6 weeks in or so, I'm starting to feel more. I was anxious, I think, for the first couple of weeks, but not overly so. I think right now I'm just feeling like, how much longer is this going to happen? Not that I want to say get out and do stuff. I just feel like the more it's prolonged, the more dire our situation becomes, with with our economy, with social development for my child. But the other thing that I'm feeling a little bit is that I don't know how to deal with other people's anger as well. We had a family member just be really angry at us and said, well, you guys want to social distance because, you know, you're financially, like, you know, okay right now. And I just was like, whoa, like, no one wants to no one wants to socially isolate right now. Like, no one wants to do this. Don't, it was like very you. And it was just very disarming because I think, and I don't, I don't know how to help. And then it's just this awkwardness and this, just hearing this anger. And also just, wondering, am I being insensitive to other people's situation who have maybe not have savings, or, they live day to day. That's something that we want to be sympathetic with, but at the same time, like Chloe was saying, it's like, how much can you do? So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and these are all great points, and they're all not only valid, they're all true. Even though some of these may be conflicting, like sort of like I don't know what to do, and nonetheless, like I'm trying to help people, but I don't know how much I can help them when I'm just trying to also spend energy trying to help myself. And so hopefully we can all share in that feeling, and also come away with some strategies today to not only maybe help others, but at the very least help ourselves. Right. I don't want to cut anyone off, so if there's anybody else who wanted to share something. All right. So what can help me cope now? So these are the first of two slides that I want to talk about in terms of just things that can help us through this unprecedented time. If I was a medical doctor and I had a prescription pad, I would almost prescribe everyone to do mindful meditation. The research on it is just incredible. It's used for people with chronic illness, chronic pain, smoking cessation. I mean, you name it, anxiety, depression. There's so much great support for it. There's a number of wonderful resources as well, and especially given so many people have talked about the concerns of economic hardships. These are all apps that I encourage, and because I work at a college, you got to sell people on free resources, right? So these are all free. There are paid subscriptions if you want that, but these all have free access. So Headspace being one of them, Calm, Insight Timer, and YouTube. YouTube has thousands of videos, and you can be as creative and explicit about what you want to do in terms of a mindful meditation. You could literally search 5-minute gratitude meditation, and it'll pop up with 1,000 videos. The other one that I use frequently and encourage people to check out is called UCLA Mindful. So there's a mindfulness awareness research center at UCLA, and they have a weekly podcast that they have been doing for the last, I believe, like 5 or 6 years. And so they have a bunch of different meditations that are free to the public as well. And so there's different ones on gratitude, forgiveness, working with anxiety, helping with sleep. So I highly recommend those resources as well. Gratitude. This is something that I've been encouraging a lot of people to think about and reflect. That, and I think that this is a pretty, it can be a challenging concept when we think about, well, it's hard to feel grateful for what I have when others may not have as much, or even be grateful for what I have when others have more. Sometimes when I bring up gratitude, it can kind of feel like kissing up, or just feeling like disingenuous. And what I'm talking about is just true appreciation for who is in your life, what you have, and just recognizing that even though we are all in this hardship together, there are things that you are grateful for that you wouldn't trade for the world. And research actually shows a 25% increase of optimism when we express 5 daily gratitudes. So something just written down of, I'm grateful for my kids, my partner, for my family, right? Just whatever, and repeating that over and over again. And hopefully there will be an increase in just how you're feeling. Going back to the idea of social connection, right? Although we aren't, we're still in this place of wanting to physical distance, we're not alone in this. And so this is an opportunity to connect with other people, rekindle old relationships, or strengthen the bonds that we already have in our lives, and connect through however you want, whether that's through Zoom, FaceTime, any sort of video chat. But then also, this is an opportunity to get fun and creative with it. I've heard people having happy hours. I've heard people doing costume parties. One of my favorites is playing categories over Zoom. And so it's like, if this is the new normal, like, hey, this is how we're going to connect, because I want to see these people and we got to make the most of it. The last part is allowing yourself breaks. So sometimes it can feel like, to be a committed person to the cause, right? If we're in the storm together, like, we're all on the front lines, we got to stay informed, we've got to stay committed. I have to know what Dr. Fauci is saying right now at every minute. And that can be exhausting. One way or another, there is nothing going on in the world right now. You will be informed. And so giving yourself that permission, going back to my initial point of being patient with yourself, allow yourself those breaks. We are being inundated with news, and there is nothing like in the normal world, if we want to get distractions, like go to happy hour, go to the gym, go hang out with friends, go to the beach, right? There is nothing to distract us at this time, except if we turn on the news, it's the same thing over and over again, and we're just getting new information. And so giving yourself that opportunity to turn off the news and be in the present moment, be with your friends, your family, or to do something that can help ease some of those anxieties or that overwhelming feeling. So when we talk about implementing some of these strategies, we are not reinventing the wheel. I'm not saying reinvent yourself, like this is a pandemic, like change everything about you. I'm talking about little changes right now. So some of the things that have been coming up is like, all right, things are totally up in the air. My schedule is all out of whack. My sleeping's all out of whack. Okay, so if you need a little bit of structure in your life, try to create a schedule that's going to allow a little bit more flexibility to what this current situation is in. So for example, some people I've spoken with, they're like, hey, I'm feeling a little guilty because I sleep in because I don't have the same kind of commute. It's like, oh, okay. Like, is that so wrong? Like, can you enjoy sleeping in a little bit? Are you worried that you're not getting your stuff done? And they're like, no. And it's like, cool. So like, can you enjoy an extra 30 minutes of sleep each day? And they're like, oh yeah, that is something that I hadn't thought about. Right on, Madeline. And so, but this is also an opportunity. Like, if we have some of this time, what's something that maybe you've been putting off, not because you wanted to, but simply because you haven't had the time, or now is like a time that you've been, wanting to learn a foreign language. Being in Northern California, I feel like everyone has started a sourdough starter. This is an opportunity to reconnect and bond with old friends and family that maybe if you have this time now, you have this technology, this is an opportunity to reach out. And so I'm curious, what have people been doing that they want to share with others? Like, let's get the brainstorm going. Yes, Betty, that's a really, really great point. For those with kids and homeschooling and all of that, that is definitely an extra layer of responsibility. So spending quality time with kids, exercise, riding the bike, podcasts that aren't COVID related. Oh, Misty, great job. you took that break for 3 weeks and then you finished all that stuff. That's awesome. Chloe sleeping in the tent. That's great. Angela, yes, quality time and reconnection. Yes, Kenneth, Laura, those are all awesome. Heather's writing a book. So look, I mean, this is a small, compared to the world, right? This is 15 of us, and look at all that we're already doing, right? This is a wonderful start to the list, and maybe this is an opportunity to get some other ideas of things that maybe you hadn't thought about already. So this is my way of practicing my gratitude for the day. I want to thank you all, and especially Madeline, for reaching out to me and asking me to be a part of this discussion today. It's a real honor and a privilege. And you know, when we talk about gratitude during this time, you know, I was thinking like maybe I wouldn't be asked to share with this group if it weren't for the coronavirus. So really holding that appreciation, and I want to thank Madeline for inviting me, and thank you all for enjoying this time together. And so with every discussion I always provide additional mental health resources. So I can't speak for every therapist throughout the state, but I do know that several providers have gone toward a telemental health route to make sure that they are still seeing their clients, and at least still offering the opportunity for new clients to come in. So these are several links that can help you find a psychologist, a therapist, psychiatrist. And if you do have any questions, I always encourage people to look up Psychology Today. Is a great way, and you can specify who's available in your area and what insurance they take as well. And with that being said, any questions? And feel free if you want to write them in the chat, or go ahead and you can say it out. Misty, it feels better knowing we're all in the same place. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I have more of a comment. I think that I've been in this industry for a long time. I grew up in this industry. My parents are in the industry. And there is very much a this like notion when you're in the event industry that you have to kind of be like a hard ass all the time and like know the answer and be able to plan everything and do everything. And I think that this is given, we've had as an event industry locally in Napa and Sonoma, in the Bay Area, been impacted by a lot of different things, by fires twice, power outages, and now COVID. And we are really learning to roll with the punches. And with each time that we've had something so impactful to our industry and personal lives, we've become a little less, it's chipped away at that exterior shell. And I think that we have become more supportive of each other. I see, you know, at like different virtual hangouts and things, it's less, you know, like this industry can be kind of catty or, you know, like, or, you know, have that feeling. And I see less of that. And as a leader in ILEA, that makes me really proud because I see that we are working together more. I see people on Facebook that are sharing their experiences, like their financial experiences that they're going through right now, and sharing resources. And so I think that this was a really good reminder to, you know, practice mindfulness, practice gratefulness, and focus and allow us to focus on ourselves, even this 1 hour that we spent with you. And so I hope that with this this gave us time to kind of reflect on that, and then also that we can do it more in the future. So thank you so much, Shane. And if anybody has any questions, please do interject. But I do also want to say that we have another live webinar like this on May 7th, which will be hosted by Heather Nelson. And it's about managing life's chaos. So please do join us for that. And if anybody has any questions. The silence is deafening. Okay, thank you so much, Shane. We really appreciate your time and look forward to yeah, working with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me, everyone.
All right, bye. Oh, I don't know how to leave. Okay.